Hi, I'm Jordan Toronto, and welcome back to Discover Me TV, that is now going virtual. Today, I have Brendan Jennings, the amazing director of choir at Burroughs High School, John Burroughs High School. Oh my, this has been quite a crazy few weeks for you, huh?
This would be our busiest time of the year, like our competition season for show choir, which is the kind of what things lead up towards. So with schools closing and all that, everything is just canceled, and the kids worked really, really hard putting together a truly incredible show. But I'm very grateful that we did get through our pop show. So it's kind of like really when you feel like the performances are like done, really, really done for the first time, and you know we got it all come together, and it was amazing, and everybody had that moment of amazing. We're just ready to take it on the road, and then it's like the tour got canceled.
Right. It was the tour that was the taking it on the road part. But thank goodness, I've said too, I'm so glad they got to do their pop show because everyone did get to perform their set, their songs, which is an incredible event. For those of you who are watching who have not seen a Burroughs pop show or a Burroughs show at all, it's an extraordinary experience. And thank goodness we got to have that.
Yeah, we got to have that. And now it's just trying to figure out, what distance learning really means and what's possible, and that, in the arts, it's just really not the same. I'm essentially teaching a different class.
Right.
Which is okay, and we can do that, and we can keep some learning going, but it's not the same.
No. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of other friends in theater and who are like, what we do is for people who are gathered. Like we very specifically what we do is what has been canceled. Like the gathering is kind of the point for a lot of us people who love live theater.
It is. And the rehearsal process is really where the magic is for me with the kids and having them in the same space and being able to, tune into each other, like sound wise, emotion wise. Like it's hard to be apart.
Yes. Oh, yes. I just sang with a high school friend of mine that I did high school theater with, worlds apart from Big River. So our worlds apart. Yeah, he was extraordinary. He played Jim in Big River in high school. And so those are some memories from me. But yeah, I am so grateful. Do you know what I have heard? Maybe you've heard this too, is that Laura Benanti is... have you ever seen this? That she is telling people for all of the kids, specifically high school kids, but I think kids of all ages are sending her stuff to send them the things that they didn't get to perform. And she's like, I'm going to watch them all. I'm like, oh.
Well, that was right when stuff was first closing. I saw that post from her and I was like, that is very sweet. We also got through our school musical because we have it in such a weird time of year. We're like the first spring musical. It's like hardly spring, it's the first weekend of February. We do that because by the time you get to the end of the show choir competition season, the kids are just exhausted, and like trying to mount a full musical at the very end of the year is just not. We used to do that, and then we did chorus line one year and it killed the children.
Oh my God. You're right.
We're like, we can't do this again.
We shouldn't kill the children. Let's try to
kill them. We want them to enjoy what they're doing. And it was, it was like drill sergeant, like line, like doing the chorus line with like, I have AP tests.
I know, right? So I am so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that you didn't have a show in May. Our middle schooler, Clementine, had Footloose coming up at the end of April, beginning of May. And so that's sad. And then our little guy missed his variety show by like a week. But I had gotten a great little video of him singing Make 'Em Laugh from Singing in the Rain for his little dress rehearsal. There's a level of losses in all of this. And of course, the most dramatic is like preserving life and saving lives and, keeping people safe. But then sort of the next level of losses is all of those other like heart and soul connections that people are missing now,
Yeah. I mean, for us, we were supposed to have a New York trip.
I know.
We almost made it to that. We were planning. You helped me with the planning.
I know.
That was pretty sad.
I mean, up until the days before it got canceled, I was still like, what are you talking about? Of course we're going. I mean, I was just being like, no, I was just refusing.
Denial. It's called denial.
Yeah. And it was like hopeful denial. I wasn't trying to put us in grave danger, but in my head, I was like, that is simply not an option. Because that was an extraordinary.
Sure looks like the right choice now. Safety first.
I mean, I can't even imagine how we could all be quarantined in a hotel having done none of the extraordinary things on that itinerary if we had showed up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to our friends over at Burbank High. Is they left on their trip, and then the LA County Office of Education put out a new recommendation after they were on the plane because they had 4 a.m. flights or whatever. And so the school was calling them wait, have you left yet? Have you left yet? And they were on the plane, and they would have stopped them from going. But they couldn't because they were already arriving. They were sort of there. The competition that they went there to perform at was canceled. But it was stressful. It was not the trip that they had planned either.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. But they were safe and they got home safe and everyone.
They were safe. They got home safe. Everybody was good.
That's good. So tell me about, when did you move from being the guy in show choir himself to being the director?
That's a good question. So I went to John Burroughs High School.
Yes.
I graduated from the school I teach at now. And when I was selecting colleges, I had this real push and pull. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I was actually looking into half business schools because up until high school, I was pretty much like a math guy.
Wow.
And I still was, but the music program at Burroughs kind of changed my life. And so it put me into this, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I kind of want to do music, but I maybe still want to do business. Maybe I can do both. And so I applied to half business schools. I applied to half music schools. I kind of got into some of each. And then the director at Burroughs had asked me to come back. I was just teaching in the summer program. I was assisting. It was actually Jen Nugent. It was actually the choreographer at Burroughs at the time. She asked me to come and teach in the summer program, and there was sort of just a little bit of a hint of maybe I could be doing some work for the program while I was in school. So it kind of encouraged me to think about the USCs. I'm the USCs instead of the NYUs. I got into USC. My top 3 choices were USC, NYU, and UC Berkeley. And I was kind of leaning towards music at the time, but I didn't really know. So I had applied to USC for vocal performance. Because at the time, before I didn't have access to the internet, I was a musical theater person always, but I didn't actually know that majors in musical theater really existed.
Wow, yeah.
I didn't know about University of Michigan or Carnegie Mellon, and USC didn't have a musical theater major, and none of the California schools that I was looking at really did.
Wait, for NYU, were you doing that for business, or were you doing that because I actually did my second 2 years at
I was doing vocal performance.
At Cap 21. Oh, you were going for vocal performance too.
I applied for vocal performance as well. For whatever reason, I just thought that you had to go and study opera first, and then maybe you could go into musical theater.
Yeah.
Without thinking about the fact that I really didn't love singing in other languages so much, and languages were not my forte, and that I didn't really want to be an opera singer at all. And so like I showed up on day one of college at USC and I was like, okay, I have to do all this stuff and I don't want to or like it really.
I hear you. Yeah.
It was a good education.
But there's that idea of like paying your dues, but sometimes we think we have to pay dues that aren't really our dues and aren't really our thing, right? Like
it was a good experience, but you know, they say you really find yourself in college. That was exactly what I was doing, was kind of finding the things that I really enjoyed and moving away from the things that I didn't enjoy as much. And I think one of the things that moved me towards education was that I'd started an a cappella group. And it was like, you know, your pop contemporary a cappella group. And I became like the musical director eventually of that situation. And we were growing this organization and it was working with people. And it was like running rehearsals, which I had a little bit of a chance to do when I was in high school, but this started to be, it was a step up. It was, and then I did get asked back to come and direct the men's group at Burroughs halfway through my freshman year of college.
Wow.
They were like, hey, none of the choreographers want to do anything with Men at Work and Mrs. Rego. They're like totally rowdy and out of control. They're not going to take them to competitions. They're just going to cancel them unless you want to come back and take it over.
Oh my, it's like a movie.
Yeah. And so I was like,
come back to save the boys.
Those were literally like the friends that I had just graduated high school from.
Right. I was going to say you were 1 year older than them, right?
I was 1 year older than them. And I let them down. So I said yes. And started in January. They had no music chosen. They had done nothing. And so I like cobbled together a set with music from the music library at Burroughs and choreographed. I'd never choreographed anything before. And I became the director choreographer of the men's group at Burroughs when I was in college and learned about classroom management by just like, all I did was scream at them all the time. That was the only way to get them to shut up, was to like yell. And so then I would go to my voice lessons at USC and they're like, is your voice so trashed? And I'm like, I don't know.
I just happen to have this other job going back yelling at my friends.
I was doing a lot of weird moonlighting in the opera program, and it was pretty clear pretty quick that I was not spending the requisite amount of time practicing, you know, my Italian arias. Way more enjoying working on the a cappella group, directing and choreographing a show choir. And so it kind of moved me over. Yeah, eventually I just switched majors and became music education.
Oh, so by like sophomore year already, music education, or?
No, I took a circuitous path. I did a couple of interim music majors because I wasn't ready to like commit to the idea of being a teacher. I was still like going to be a performer or some producer or something.
Sure.
But eventually by my, I want to say junior year, I switched to education. And of course, you know, they're like, well, you switched too late, so you can't finish in 4 years. So it's going to take you, you know, another half year to finish, which I turned into a full year with student teaching. And
okay. So, did it feel like, oh, I'm home, I've come home to what I really meant to do, or not quite yet?
I don't know, kind of. And the thing was about the music ed program at USC at that time, which they have since phased out. They were actually phasing it out while I was in the program, and they changed it into a master's degree only. They wanted you to like get the bachelor's in your main instrument and then do a master's degree / teaching credential program at USC. And then they phased that out. Now it's like a doctoral program and everybody's just confused. And so now you just don't go to USC for music ed.
Well, that seems like overkill. You don't want to.
The music school and the ed school don't get along very well at USC. They didn't work so well. And I know that more because we had, in the Burbank school district, we had a lot of USC student teachers for a long time. And so we were kind of watching that program from afar, and I was like, oh, that's the one that they were like phasing in when I was at school, and now they're phasing it out.
Oh my.
It was actually a really the master's program was a really good program. Anyways, I was in it as a bachelor. It was like 85% instrumental focused in a weird way. Like you just had to take, you had to learn strings, you had to learn brass, you had to learn woodwinds, you had to learn percussion. Like I played like every instrument poorly for a brief amount of time.
Had you ever played an instrument or like had much care for playing instruments younger?
I took like a couple of piano lessons and quit it because I preferred tennis. Like, and my parents let me. I was like, you never should have let me. They were like, you were such a little jerk about it. You did not want to practice. You just wanted to go play tennis with your friends.
Dude, that is like the quote of everyone. I always say that to my parents too. They're like, dude, we did not want to spend our lives fighting you. And guess what? You did what you actually wanted. This is like Kayla with piano and volleyball. Kayla's like, I want to play volleyball. But now, interestingly, Kayla's like, this last year, he was like, I want to do piano. And then it became extraordinarily hard to do piano. And he eventually was like, I have no time for piano. But now he might.
They're more evolved than us these days. He's about 4 years more mature than I was, apparently, in high school, I think.
Dude, he's about 4 years more mature than a lot of us in this house sometimes.
Once I get to college, I was like, damn it, why didn't I take piano?
I know. But you never want to hear that from your parents, that it's going to make you like just better overall.
You have to just sit back and let them do what they're passionate about at the time.
And let them come back around and be like, crap. But that usually makes you do something instead of being told to do it anyway. I don't know. So that's interesting. So it's a bit a circuitous path, but
it was.
Coming out of there, did you go straight back to Burroughs after graduating with your bachelor's?
Sort of. I had been working there as an assistant. I started I was assisting Jen Unjin with choreography for Powerhouse for a while. Then I was choreographing sound waves. So I was working with Burroughs a lot. I was doing the a cappella thing. I was finishing my bachelor's. I student taught at Burroughs as well, half Burroughs and half at Jordan Middle School. And so then when I was finishing my teaching credential, that fifth year, Mary Rago came to me and Jen Unjin, and she said, hey, listen, I'm going to retire in a year. You need to not, I know that you're getting your teaching credential now and you want a job with a salary now, but you can't go to some other school and fall in love with those kids. So you need to not get a job this year. I will hire you to do as much as I can and give you as much work as I can, but you're going to need like another job of some sort. And then in a year, I want you to take over.
Wow.
So I got a job as a real estate broker's assistant.
Oh.
And did real estate for a year while really now super paying attention to like the trade of running the Burroughs program. And she involved me in like a lot of the internal planning kind of things so I could see how things were run, learning more about the administrative portions of it. And then summer hit. She didn't tell anybody else. It was completely 100% a secret.
Wow.
She cleaned out her room. She got all of the books in order. She got all of her paperwork in order. And like a month into summer, she went to the superintendent and was like, here's my resignation letter. Here's my recommendation of this young teacher, Brendan Jennings, hire him. And she got in her trailer and drove to Alaska with her husband.
Wow.
And was gone. And luckily, you know, they convened like a hiring panel, and that luckily they did end up hiring me.
Did they have to interview other people too? Did they?
Oh, they did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did. They had.
But she was just basically like, hire Brendan Jennings.
Yeah, but they still put together a panel, and they had, you know, you had Jen Unjin telling people like, don't apply for this job, because there was people who were interested. People in the show choir world, at least, that were like, ooh, Burroughs, like I could go take over a really good school. And Jen's like, no, we already have somebody.
Oh my gosh, it was like, it's already cast. It's pre-cast.
Right. She was telling everybody that so that they wouldn't apply, because we just wanted to keep the pool as small as possible. And so it was like me and some guy that was like 65 who was only a couple of years from retirement, and then like one other guy from the Midwest who had 1 year of teaching experience. And you know, they interviewed the three of us. And
were you nervous, or were you like, I got this, this is okay?
I was nervous. I was, you know, until you have the job, you don't know.
Right.
And you're like planning as if you have the job because you have to, but you don't really know for sure. And, you know, luckily everything turned out. I found out I got the job a week before school started.
Whoa.
It was a whirlwind year. I pretty much blacked out my first 2 years of teaching. Like, I don't remember much.
Wow.
I think I was working probably 80 or 90 hours a week to just keep up with the learning curve of what I was doing. I was so clueless.
Oh my God. It was sort of on the job grad school. It sounds like you just had to those first 2 years were just absolutely diving in.
They talk about it a lot in education, how nothing that they do really prepares you for like, the realness of being a teacher. Like, you go through all the classes and the pedagogy, but nothing prepares you to stand in front of a classroom full of kids and take control for 180 days or whatever it is in a school year, and to just put together like this entire learning experience. And
wow,
it's a lot, but I love it. It's my dream job. I just wasn't, I didn't know it at the time, but it was my dream job, and I got it.
I love that. It's like it was the dream you didn't know to dream until you dreamed it, until it came.
Yeah, it like slowly crept up on me, and I, you know, I was just doing the things that I loved, and now I have a job that's also my hobby. That's kind of how I see it.
Oh, I love that.
I love most of what I have to do for my job.
Yeah.
And I really love all of the exciting, you know, the things that we get to do, the extra stuff that we get to do is incredible. I mean, the kids are amazing, you know.
Yes.
And the things that we get to do with those kids is pretty awesome.
That's extraordinary. Ah, I love that. And it makes me appreciate my drama teacher, who I actually wasn't even at my school. I did my high school theater generally at this boys' school. So my teacher, CP, Carol Pribble, CP's the best. But oh my gosh, I mean, it was a much smaller program. Everything that I've ever heard of is a much smaller program than the extraordinary bunch that you have. How many kids are in choir?
We have about 210.
That's amazing.
Ish.
We always try to explain to our parents, because Matt, my husband, was in show choir, but my husband was in the kind of show choir that was like 12 to 16 people, like 4 or 5 of them guys wearing their cummerbunds and doing a cute little arrangement of something. And, you know, there was some talent in there. And it was definitely not cool. So I always hear Matt go, no, you guys, there's hundreds of them and it's cool. It's like as cool as doing a sport. He's like, I mean, I loved it. I didn't care that it wasn't cool, but let's be clear, it wasn't cool. And there were just a few of us little misfits doing it, and they loved it. But this is a whole other world.
It is.
I mean, was it very similar even when you were part of it, or has it evolved a lot? Has it grown since you were?
When I was in choir, there was probably maybe 120 kids in the program.
It's still a big program, but like half of what it is today.
Still a big program. I mean, Mary Rago built it over the course of 30 odd years.
Wow.
And she started with one choir of 12 kids, like you would expect.
Yeah.
And eventually added a second choir, eventually added, you know, she kind of added one thing at a time. She had an English credential as well. So she was teaching English at the beginning.
Oh my God.
And by the time I took it over, there was my senior year of high school, that's when we added the last competing choir.
Wow.
So like, by the time I took it over, all of the choirs existed. They were just a little bit smaller. And then we've since grown and grown and grown. I mean, it used to be, you didn't used to have almost 60 kids in a choir. It used to be more like 35, 40. And now we just pack them in there because there's so many kids that want to do it.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
And just so people know, so now there are 4 main choirs, right? There's Decibelles, Sound Waves, Sound Sensations, and Powerhouse.
Yeah. Decibelles is my intermediate women, and Sound Sensations is the advanced women. And then Sound Waves is the intermediate mixed, and Powerhouse is the advanced mixed.
Right. And then we also have
Muses and Vocal Ensemble. We've been trying to rename Vocal Ensemble for years. It's such a weird, means nothing name. Muses is an a cappella group from Sound Sensations, so it's all women's. And Vocal Ensemble is an a cappella group from Powerhouse, so it's a mixed group. And then there's Men at Work, which is our after-school men's show choir. So there's 7 ensembles, 4 curricular, as they say.
Right. And so the beauty of this is what my husband and I, as musical theater nerds, love, is that these guys have as much choir, and for our son, even more, than they have math. And I just think that that's the greatest thing in the whole world, is that they have as much singing and dance. And it's not something that they do sometimes after school, but it is literally a class every single day, the same way they would have any class. And like, to us, that is just the greatest. And especially in this moment of talking about what is essential, it is essential. I think coming out of this time of quarantine, we're going to realize what got us through this.
The music and the movies and the TV shows and
all of the arts. And so just hello world, to let us just be very clear about what is essential. I know, in fact, something, I don't know, I misheard Matt saying something about an ENT yesterday. And I said an EMT, and I don't know, somehow we got to emergency musical theater. And I was like, yes, that's what we have during this time. We need EMT, we need regular EMTs. And then additionally, for those of us who need some emergency musical theater sometimes, we do need those kind of EMTs. So
yes, we do. And also just staying connected. I think it's important.
Exactly.
I think it feels different, but it's
our art and people right now.
Yeah, we got to do what we can, because some days are harder than others.
Yeah.
Some days I'm just kind of like, these 4 walls are not enough. And
no.
I need people today, and I can't have them, and
I know.
Just sucks, but
it does. So I'm very grateful that this is possible. I don't know what this would be like 15 years ago if this came about. We would all be going more crazy, I think.
Yes.
We have a lot of virtual world right now, and I'm very grateful for it.
Me too. I'm learning a lot. Technology is not my strong suit, and so I am like learning about all of these new programs, and it's been quite interesting. It's been a challenge for me.
Me too. I mean, Kayla this morning was all wise because I started to lose it and cry because I felt stupid for needing help trying to get our youngest onto a little Zoom meeting for his classroom, which I think Kayla, if you'd only realized what I was struggling with, would have walked over much sooner and helped him. But he said, Mom, you just need to do your work and be a mom. We have our teachers. He showed me his computer, and look, we are each other's like IT people too. And so we can help each other. And I'm like, okay, so I'm off the hook because I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm freaking out.
Oh my God. Do you have the most amazing kid or what?
I have the most amazing kid.
I'm very okay with the things that I don't know. I know that there's a lot that I don't know.
Yes.
So I'm getting in front of that, group of 50 kids on Zoom, and I'm like, so who knows how to do this?
Yes.
Who can help me with this? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and let me take it off of my plate.
I'm like, this will be more fun for everybody if somebody can help Geezer over here.
I know, me
figure it out.
There's certain things I have no shame in asking for help with, and then there's other dumb things that I somehow get weird and think I'm supposed to know how to do. But
I think there's a lot of pressure on parents.
Yes.
Frankly. Right now, I'm doing my thing as a teacher, but like it feels weirdly like it just feels so different.
Right.
Because you know, we're not there for the upsets. And even though we're, you know, trying to be available to the kids,
sure,
they're just not with us anytime at all. Like we normally have them a good half the day.
right.
And so it's kind of strange to be separated from them, but you can see like that it's just all at home and all on the parents. And I'm like,
I know.
Really glad I don't have kids right now. No offense.
No, I know it's not easy. Although, like you said, I have extraordinary ones, and they really are also self-sufficient. I'm so grateful for the stage I'm at. I know there are so many people with younger or
and online learning with like in elementary school.
I know.
It's like asking the parents to essentially do it.
Thank goodness we have the greatest teacher for our second grader right now, who's just like giving challenges, but nothing's required, but she's checking it. She's the best. So we really are. I'm trying to be like, we really are in good shape. It's just if I start like demanding weird things of myself and trying too hard, that's where things go wonky. But honestly, I have to admit that the schools are doing pretty great, and my kids are like freaking amazing about taking care of it. And I am so very grateful that Kaylor has you in his life. Even in this weird time, I just knowing that you guys have even had those Zoom calls once a week just to connect and figure out some way that you guys can be working on. I just love that he has that community.
Well, it's a great community, and I miss seeing all those little rapscallions.
Your favorite rapscallions on earth?
Yeah, they're lovely.
One little question. So have you and Burbank always been a little rivalry, like the one to beat in show choir?
There's a lot of history there. When I was in school, I actually went to Muir Middle School. I was supposed to go to Burbank High. At the time, Burroughs was this great program, and Burbank was nothing. They were the choir with 12 kids singing in 12 keys. And right as I was going to high school, the district was they had the choir teacher at Burbank had left. They were trying to revitalize it. And so they asked my middle school teacher to teach part-time at Burbank High. And she auditioned for Burroughs, had gotten into chamber choir, Powerhouse, as a freshman. And my middle school teacher called me over the summer and asked if I would change and go back to Burbank High. And so I had this choice, and I ended up saying, you know what, I feel like I need to go. I don't want to be like, because I was her middle school choir president in 8th grade, and I was like, I don't want to necessarily go and be your choir president for 4 years and like feel like I have to take on all this responsibility when what I really want to go is like, you know, work my way up of an established
grow into something, like kind of grow your way into a new environment.
So I ended up saying no and going to Burroughs, and it didn't end up working out for her anyway, because it was way too much to do with all the middle school stuff that she was still doing.
Oh my goodness, she was doing both for a time?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So she ended up going back to the middle school full time. And then the year after that, they kind of tried a similar thing with a different middle school teacher who had been a Burroughs graduate, a Burroughs and a USC graduate. And it worked better with her. And so by the time I graduated from high school, Burbank had gone from nothing to like a very similar program to Burroughs.
Wow.
It was being led by, it was started by a Burroughs alum.
Interesting.
So we were getting competitive. They were getting competitive with us by my senior year. In fact, at that time, Jordan didn't have a program, and really most of the kids were coming from Muir or from Luther. And my senior year, basically all of the incoming kids for like a couple of years had all gone to Burbank. All the Muir kids and all the Luther kids went to Burbank. And so Burroughs had all of a sudden no kids.
Whoa.
And so the program's kind of like,
it's like kind of things started like the playing field leveled a little.
Yes, the playing field was leveled, and right around that same time, Krista Moore showed up at Jordan, and there was just like all the secondary schools were in it to win it. And then that started a period of, I don't know, dominance or whatever you want to call it, of sorts between Burbank and Burroughs, fueled by these 3 middle school programs that were all really good too. And there were years where every show choir competition was first place Burbank, second place Burroughs, first place Burroughs, second place Burbank. It was just completely back and forth for years. A few other schools changed and got new directors and things that it shifted to where we're not like the only,
choirs in the
area. There's more going on, but yeah, for a time, it really was this crazy arms race between Burbank and Burroughs, and shows were getting bigger and sets and lighting, and it was all. Now it's relaxed a little bit. I feel like we're rivals, but we're not.
But you're also.
Yeah, we're also collaborative, and we're able to be friends.
Yeah, sort of represent Burbank together a little bit. It's sort of, is that when Glee came out? Were more people like knowing about show choir than did before or anything?
Glee was a crazy time. When Glee was coming out, it was like the popularization of show choir.
Yes.
And that's when there was shifting around in new schools. Kind of at that point, it was kind of the Burbank Burroughs game.
Yeah.
That's when I first started teaching. I started in 2006, 2007. And so Glee came out, 2010.
Okay,
Because we went on Oprah with the cast of Glee in 2010.
Right.
9-10. So yeah, it had premiered that year, and they flew us to Chicago to go on the show, and that was incredible.
Was that a highlight? I mean, you've done a lot of extraordinary things with the choirs, but was that one of the biggies?
That was definitely one of the highlights, and it kicked off kind of a lot of stuff because they called us like the real life Glee. They said that Ryan Murphy had said that he watched a lot of our videos when he was researching for the show. There's like a rumor that he had gone to a pop show at some point. And so it kind of became the thing where the cast members would thought of us apparently as like, they're sort of like the real life representation of us. And it was a great time. Like 2009, right when everything was happening, was like a high water mark of kids. They were the seniors that had Mary Rago for 1 year and then me for 3 years. So she like left me with like one of the most incredible classes of kids for 3 years. And their senior year, 2009, was like a landmark show that like changed show choir a lot. It was more theatrical, more epic. It was very, which the shows are now, like every year.
Yeah.
And this was new. And so that was a time when we were like pushing forward in show choir and doing crazy stuff.
You were like ushering in a new era that was even more.
Kind of, yeah. It was more dramatic, more theatrical, more story-based.
I love that.
And so, for the next 3 or 4 years, 5 years, while Glee was really popular, we were just inundated with opportunity, which got a little tricky to like decide which things to say yes to and which things to say no to. We were getting hired for crazy, insane, gigantic gigs. The opening of like one of the pavilions at LACMA with like Christina Aguilera and the Canadian Tenors and us in the show.
So cool.
And like doing art. Yeah, we did like this. Jen Unjin created this art piece in the lampposts at LACMA, that art installation that's at the very front. And we were the first people that were ever allowed to do any kind of performance art inside of those lampposts.
She like choreographed something in.
Yeah, it was like and because they had the red carpet for the event go through the center, and so she had at the end of it, there was Dan Scoville on a grand piano playing like Mozart, and the kids were dressed in their like 18th century garb, which had been from the 2009 show, those costumes.
Oh my God.
They had like masks, and it was this entire grid of basically choreography and movement that was partially improvised and partially there was musical cues. So when this music happened, they knew, okay, this is the promenade, and you go here and you go to a partner and you're promenading, and then this is the like hide behind a lamppost and look out. And they were doing it for the red carpet entrance. So it cycled, and they did it for about an hour and 15 minutes. And they just went through the cycles of it. And the kids are like, they peeked around the lamppost and it was like Tom Hanks,
Oh my gosh, how neat.
just crazy stuff. And then once the party like had gone in, then we went and did a full number at the end of the cocktail party, and then went and like escorted people to the seated dinner, like that had the kids like, go and like say like, Madame, like follow me, and like take people in.
So
we did a lot of events, a lot of big events like that for the Annenbergs, and we did several for LACMA, and it was a crazy time when Glee was really popular. Everybody wanted high school show choir things. The kids were really busy. I was really busy. We had production companies wanting to do reality shows with us. We were considering all kinds of things, and the kids were performing everywhere all the time. It was a very busy time, but we learned a lot. We did a lot of television, a lot of live stuff. And then I think that like our thing was we always wanted to be able to kind of over deliver what was possible. What people thought a high school could do, we would like want to top that by a bunch. I think we made we made a strong name for ourselves, because I still have some of those same producers or people who, if they do have the opportunity to include high school performers in something, they know to call me, and we'll do things now and again. It's not as busy as it was, but I think we did a good job in those years of like really nailing the stuff that we did do. It's been fun, and now when those opportunities come up, it's like knowing the people in the industry, in the live industry or in the TV industry, who like, oh yeah, if they're the ones calling you, like it's going to be a great experience for the kids. The things that were valuable for the kids, and then the things that were just like, okay, well, this is just a time drain.
Yes.
This wasn't educational. This was just like, using the kids as labor.
I was going to say, like, the other people got the better end of the deal, not your kids, and you want to protect like the experience being valuable.
And, people are like, oh, you need a publicist. You guys need a manager. And like we considered stuff like that, but in the end, it was kind of always like, education is still the number one thing. It always has been. It always needs to stay there. And so I don't need a publicist out there working on my behalf to just get me any type of performance,
right?
That might make money or something like that for the program, but that's not going to do anything for what we want the kids to learn. Yeah.
So like in your heart of hearts, you're like, I know where sort of the North Star is and what has the most value to you and your program and your kids.
Yeah, they're pretty phenomenal. I mean,
yeah, they are
high school kids that don't seem like high school kids.
That's pretty special. Oh man, this is so fun. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
It's been a true pleasure. I always love just thinking about all of the crazy things. Working with this program has been just so great for my life. I mean, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. We have so much fun. It does not feel like a job.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, my thing's called Discover Me TV. I just love that obviously there were just such significant discovery sort of milestone moments in your life that you probably are like, oh my gosh, if X, Y, and Z had not gone this way, I may not be exactly where I am today. And that's always
I mean, yeah, imagine if I had gone to NYU or UC Berkeley.
I know.
Life would be completely different.
I love to know that you just feel like you're living the dream job that long ago you didn't even know was a possibility. And then when it was, like, how cool that you get to live it out now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Very happy.
Oh, I so appreciate talking to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We will tack on our own little virtual duet that we put together to talk about the odd moment in the universe today. Well, thank you for watching Discover Me TV. Check out, I will just put links to awesome things that you can always watch from the past. There will still be future live events coming up that we can tell you about that will be the extraordinary next things. As soon as we can gather again, there will be more to see. But yeah, Mr. Brendan Jennings from John Burroughs High School in Burbank, California, I am so appreciative. Thank you for just being there for my kid and talking to me today. And thank you.
My pleasure.
Yay. All right. Well, everybody stay safe and have a good day. And, you know, take advantage of our little emergency musical theater when you need it. I love it.